How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be here, me and Bryan Alvarez, for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. We've got a TNA pay-per-view going on. We've got no shortage of news to talk about, to say the least. And we'll be covering all that. We'll probably, most likely, be joined in the second hour by Christopher Daniels for a while after his match, which is on second, by the way, against Loki, who's the mystery opponent. Right now in the ring, just starting, it's Team Japan, which is Hirooki Goto, Minoru, and Black Tiger, against Alex Shelley, Sanjay Dutt, and Jay Lethal. Bryan, how you feeling today?
Tired now.
Are you?
It's been a long day.
I'm freaking exhausted.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, and that's from yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't expect today to be so wild, but I guess a couple of things. I guess the biggest news is that the WWE is going to be reviving the ECW brand. They're going to be reviving it. I'm guessing with an angle coming off of the pay-per-view on June the 6th, on the June pay-per-view, and it's they're going to use the name. It's going to be a lot of changes are going to be made in WWE, and that's kind of it. So it's been in the works for a couple of weeks, and I guess it was probably just green-lighted in the last couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk of ECW revivals forever, but this is one where people are being sent contracts. There's going to be meetings with USA. I mean, this is like, I don't really think this is something where plans can drastically change unless they can't get a TV deal or something goes horribly awry.
Right now, there's no TV deal, but yeah. It was green-lighted with the idea that there may very well not be a TV deal, although they're going to, they're certainly going to try.
The WWE.com.
Yeah, but I mean the thing that's interesting is because it's largely going to be it's largely going to be developmental, and the whole argument, which is interesting because the whole thing when Cornette was in developmental and when Jim Ross was running developmental was that you didn't want people seeing the developmental outside of Louisville and Lexington. So you can introduce the guys when they're ready as opposed to watching them when they're, the stage of what we've been watching of late, which is not necessarily so good. And, what you're going to get is that on national television or in the guise of something where people will actually be seeing it outside of its region.
Sort of defeats the purpose of developmental, the whole term developmental, but I guess one potential positive of that is if something actually does get to work and everybody's watching it, it's going to be awfully hard to bring them up and take the gimmick away from them, which we've seen so many times with guys from Ohio Valley.
I'm not necessarily sure of that.
They could just pretend that we have not been watching.
Well, I mean, put it this way: if it's only on the internet, they'll just make do with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll change it right. They'll change it outright if it's just on the internet. And if it's on TV, I mean, it depends on the time slot. I mean, if it's on TV and it's getting a 2.5 rating, who knows? I mean, yeah, you're not gonna be able to change it too much because people will know. But time will tell. I mean, this is all on the drawing board, and so much of this hasn't really even been thought out, to be honest.
And really, everything about it is everything we pretty much talked about last year when there was going to be an ECW one-night pay-per-view. And now it's like the same arguments about something that will be around for far more than one night.
Yeah. It's going to be. The interesting thing is that it pretty much would seem to lock Paul Heyman into WWE.
Yeah.
And it also will be interesting to see what happens to OVW.
I am under the impression that Ohio Valley will remain and Deep South is going to be history very soon.
That's certainly what everyone seems to think, but I mean, as far as, okay, so who's going to be
in charge?
Who's going to be in charge?
Yeah.
And who are the wrestlers going to be?
Yep.
So anyway, a lot of changes in WWE coming up in the next, 6-7 weeks. In the middle of a 6-man tag match with Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, and Alex Shelley against Team Japan, which is Black Tiger, Hirooki Goto, and Minoru, and Team Mexico was also watching in the wings. I saw Shocker out there, so they're doing the cage match. We're first match in, and anyway, that's what's going on there. We've got a full bank of calls. The number is 1-800-878-PLAY, but you're going to have to wait for someone to hang up before you can call in. aside from what we were talking about with the ECW, and a lot of callers about that, so we'll talk more about that as that's going on. Tito Ortiz officially not fighting on July the 8th, and it will be Ken Shamrock against Forrest Griffin. What are your thoughts?
When I was actually doing a pay-per-view recap of that show, and I was thinking, what happens if Tito can't fight? That was actually my first thought, was they could do Forrest and Ken, maybe with Tito in Forrest's corner or something of that nature. I don't know.
You could do that. I don't think that they're going to do that as far as shoot an angle on who's going to be in the corner. I don't think they're going to go. I don't think UFC would go that far.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying they were getting along just fine after that show, and I thought, well, it sort of makes sense if Tito can't compete, he would have this youngster here sort of take a spot against Ken Shamrock. But I think that this may mean they don't picture Tito coming back anytime fairly soon, and that he might be off that Shamrock match, and so they sort of need to do something with Shamrock and Forrest as soon as possible. But that's an interesting fight.
Well, I don't see it as I don't want to say it's not going to be a money fight, because right now UFC's on fire, so it probably will be a money fight, but it won't be the money fight that they were expecting. And it won't do. I think that coming off of this TV, Shamrock and Tito were going to do record business, and I don't know that this one's doing record business.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't see Forrest and Shamrock doing anything near what Tito and Shamrock would have done, but I think Forrest is hot enough, and hopefully by the time the show's over, Ken will be hot enough that people will want to see them fight.
Well, I think it's good chances Ken Swan's song as a fighter, too.
Well,
depending on...
I think we've thought that several times.
The funny thing is, Ken's been written out so many times, it's not even funny. And it's just like he's got the name. He was written out after, Tito beat him. Well, not exactly, because then they had Chemo coming back and they wanted him to fight Tank, which never happened. Then he was fed to Rich Franklin, figuring that was it. And then, they came up with this idea to bring him back. Anyway, interesting as far as the Ultimate Fighter goes, I think that the dynamic is kind of interesting because the fighters are coming off as real punks.
Yeah, there are a lot of complaining, a lot of guys that you want to see them get beat up, which I think is a good thing.
I think there's a lot of color in the show this season.
Yeah, it's not characters where I watch them and I think, I just want to turn off the TV because I don't like seeing this person and he annoys me. There are people where I think, I cannot wait to see this man fight and hopefully get hammered. And I think that's good stuff.
Well, I thought that Ross Poynton, who lost on Thursday, was tremendous as a character. And it was like, if you're watching it, it almost couldn't have been scripted better in the sense of there's this guy who is so cocky and he's not listening and he's, eating his pizza and his garlic bread the night before the fight and his ice cream, and then he blows up in 2 minutes and, doesn't want to learn submission defense and, basically gets submitted.
I think one of the things with the show that a lot of people have mentioned is that, when you've got cameras on you 24 hours a day or however, they got a lot of camera time. And you're going to catch people in every sort of situation. So you can really create almost any situation that you want. I'm sure there's a lot of truth to the story that they told, but it was also probably designed in a certain way to get you to think certain things. But, when that show was over more than any other show, it really hit me how fantastic the editors are in creating 1 hour stories that, they built up a fight for this week. They built up a future fight. It was just incredible.
They created the unholy alliance between, one of Shamrock's guys and one of Ortiz's guys.
That's right.
By the way, Team Japan just won the match. Jay Lethal was pinned. So we'll have I think the Christopher Daniels low-key match is up second, so that should be the next thing going on. But anyway, go ahead with that.
No, I was just saying, it was just a fantastic job. And, you started out the show with Solomon really wanted to kill the other guy who I guess needed the house to be clean. And they teased that was the fight that we were going to get, but they didn't give it to us. So they actually saved the fight for another week down the road. And I watched this show and I'm like, there's so much better booking on here than on any wrestling show that I watch. And it amazes me.
You're not the only person who's written that to me or said that to me lately.
It shouldn't be like that, you know what I mean?
The other one, too, is that this year, who's gotten, who's gotten more characters over than UFC?
Yeah.
I mean, literal superstars over. I mean, you got Rich Franklin, Matt Hughes, Forrest Griffin, although that was kind of last year, but I mean, certainly more so. Even to a small degree, Nick Diaz. I don't know if they'll ever be back, but
They've done a tremendous job building characters, and I watched this show, and then obviously TNA was on the same night, and I sit there and I think, Ultimate Fighter has to build up one fight every week in 1 hour, and they're doing a fine job with it. And TNA really only has to build up one money match every month, and they're not doing even nearly as good a job.
Yeah, not doing anything special. Oh, they are just showing the new 6 Sides of Steel and the TNA action figures. Jeff Jarrett's got a guitar, and he looks like Scott Steiner's body. And anyway. And now
there's a man without Scott Steiner's body. That would be the former Spike Dudley.
Oh, Spike Dudley, by the way, is on the screen right now.
Yes.
All 135 pounds of him.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of that, Andrei Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia, you think Tim Sylvia is going to have a chance?
Well, I think if they fought, I think we mentioned it before, 10 times, he may have 1 or 2 chances, but I would think in a rematch he would not win. But, I didn't think he was going to win the first time, so.
Yeah, don't think he'll be favored. As far as WWE goes, of course, Backlash is next week, and, with all of the stuff that's gone on the last couple of days, we forgot about...
we forgot God.
We forgot about God. By the way, the TV this week, which is the Monday Raw and the Friday SmackDown, are actually already both taped, ahead of time because they were in England and they taped them on Friday and Saturday in London. And, Shawn Michaels wrestles Shane McMahon, and the main event is the Spirit Squad against Triple H, John Cena, and Edge together as a team. And then on SmackDown, it's the Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio match. And Mark Henry against Bobby Lashley in the King of the Ring. So that's the highlights of what's coming up. And TNA will be taping tomorrow night to build up their next pay-per-view. So that's kind of the schedule. I guess we didn't even talk about this one. Palmer Cannon missing in action on this tour.
That's right.
We don't know what's going on with him other than he had something to do with JBL, and I guess they almost got into a fight, and he came home and quit, and they want him to stay, and I don't know where it stands right now. Have you heard anything new on that?
I have heard nothing new except they're figuring he's done.
Well, he doesn't want to come back. Isn't that amazing? We were talking about that the other day, that this was probably the biggest week of money the man will have ever made in his life. I mean, whatever it was that they were doing to him, it must have been, you know what I mean? You work, you start in developmental. He was out of Chaotic Wrestling, out of, the Northeast, and Deep South, which must have been just, a horrible existence. He had done those cameos, for months now on SmackDown, but hadn't gone on the road. And, going on the road, working all the European shows, all sold out, and came home after the first day.
That is saying such a mouthful, by the way, that he survived Deep South Wrestling and left the European tour on day 1.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder what happened.
I don't understand JBL. He's a smart guy, but in some ways he's so stupid.
This one, I don't know what the whole story is.
Yeah?
When you don't know, it's like every situation is different. I saw, everyone saw JBL in the Blue Meanie. So on that one, I know who the jerk was there. Some of the other ones, he's got his role, and he may in some situations he may have been somewhat justified, in others he may not, and I don't know which one this is.
Sure, but it's not the first JBL hazing story.
Oh God, no. And some of them certainly aren't. And we've heard, I've heard horror stories from people about him.
Sure, and you would think that a person would realize that in a corporate environment in 2006, at some point, the odds are, if things keep happening, that somebody is going to file some sort of suit, and you'd want to maybe stop before such a thing happened, but he just keeps going. And he's lost jobs because of things like goose-stepping, and he's got jobs now. He's got a radio gig, and you would think he would not want to endanger such things by acting like a high schooler, but he still does. Nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
It's a story in wrestling with pretty much everything. Nothing ever changes until something happens.
until it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, that's always been the case. There's no, nothing gets done until way past time when you could have averted whatever the problem is. That's the one thing about following wrestling for all these years is that you're always headed for a problem because when we see the problems coming, it's like they never stop. They go right towards them.
Sure.
And every time, and unfortunately, in many cases, those problems are not, things that are whimsical or anything like that. They're pretty darn serious.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can go to www.wrestlingobserver.com. Information has subscribed to both the Wrestling Observer newsletter that I put out every week, Figure 4 that Bryan puts out every week. This week is going to be just tons of stuff between the ECW story, which I'm sure will be huge, and the UFC new matchmaking, and the TNA pay-per-view, which is going on, and Christopher Daniels and Loki are chopping the you-know-what out of each other, and TV European tour, big Japanese shows. God knows what else is going to happen between now and Tuesday. So it's going to be a lot of writing, for sure.
I would think there would be some news.
Tons of news. I already got a whole issue done now.
Wow.
As far as the equivalent. So anyway, we're going to start with the phone calls. We're going to go to Jackie in Brooklyn first. Jackie.
Bryan, what are your thoughts on Dan Marotti ripping off half your subscribers by selling them bummed Iron Sheik DVDs?
I think that people are slowly getting their DVDs, so I think we should wait until everybody gets them, and then they can handle that situation.
But the issue is about quality now. The quality on the DVD is horrible. It's like a third-rate bootleg that you would get from a 1997 Chinese dealer.
I think the thing with independent DVDs is that I have seen a lot of bad DVDs, and I think that when you buy a DVD from somebody on the indie scene, I don't think you should expect professional quality. I haven't actually seen a DVD, so I can't really comment on it, but I think if people have a problem, they should try and keep contacting Dan Marotti, and that's that.
Do you feel that you were kind of taken advantage of by Marotti since he kind of plugged it on your show?
Well, he plugged it, but he was putting over a product that people were talking about, so I gave him the opportunity to do that, and I had no idea what the product was going to be like, and so I let him plug it.
Okay, cool. Dave, on last Thursday's Figure 4 Weekly, you said that Shawn Michaels is insincere about his faith, or you inferred it. What proof do you have of this?
What did you say?
That you consistently infer that Shawn Michaels is not sincere about his Christian faith.
Oh, I surely didn't say that. I just joke about Shawn Michaels.
Okay, because you kind of said that his promo after the SummerSlam match with Hogan was unprofessional, but
unprofessional. That's got nothing to do with faith. Yeah, that promo was definitely unprofessional because, to me, you just had 635,000 people buy that thing and spend their $35, and then you tried to tell them that what they spent it on was a total joke. Especially when it had to do with a dream match between two of the legendary wrestlers of the time, just because, you're mad because you lost the power play and you found out that, you thought you were in the same league as this guy, and every one of us here knows, Shawn Michaels obviously is a much better wrestler than Hulk Hogan, but when it comes to the league of being a star, as big a star as Shawn Michaels, thinks he is not, he's not in the league of Hogan. No one, I don't say no one is, but, Austin and Rock are the only ones who are, and Shawn found out that, he wasn't going to get to win that match, and I thought that was, the way he handled it, I thought was pretty bad.
Okay, Bryan, is Brent Kremen going to be on the show tonight?
We shall see.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, we're going to go to Tony in Saugus, Massachusetts. Hold on.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Doing good.
It just seems like a SmackDown is treated as such the B brand and such the afterthought. What would it take for that show to get canceled? Because I'm thinking, WCW is all about the ratings, and SmackDown gets decent ratings, but if nobody's showing, nobody's buying the pay-per-views, when will it be canceled?
Well, SmackDown pay-per-views, they're not losing money or anything like that. The WWE pretty much, because of overseas, the WWE pretty much can't lose money because overseas is just so freaking hot.
Yeah.
And, you send SmackDown, the SmackDown shows are selling out just like the Raw shows on this tour coming up. SmackDown really took a hit, I think, in the build-up to WrestleMania, and I actually just been charting some stuff earlier today on that, and you can really see that in March, SmackDown's audience went way down from January and February, significant number down, and when you look at that, I mean, the one thing was is that, you know, it was sort of portrayed as an even thing, and then as the WrestleMania build-up came, especially the Saturday night's main event, I mean, it was buried, and you know, that stuff that you know shows up on the ratings, and the ratings, you know, they haven't been that good. They're pretty much assured of being on the CW network next year, and you know, the thing is every time there's something new, and CW network in September is one of those things that's new. You know, the dynamic changes.
Yeah, it just seems like, I mean, International is covering up for so many flaws in WWE. It's amazing.
Well, they are so
lucky.
You got to give them credit for cultivating that business there, because over there it's still, you know, the thing is what's WWE has got when they go over there is they're an American import product. So to the people in Europe or Australia or you know, it used to be Japan, but not as much. It's something special. Like, you're seeing something that you're really not supposed to see, and you're seeing another culture. And so it's a real, you know, like a rock star or something like that comes over and they're bigger in Europe. Here, you know, it's just like, to us, I mean,
it's an everyday thing.
It's not that it's an everyday thing as much as that it's not as good as we remember it.
Right.
And to them, you know, they're not really, you know, I don't want to say jaded, but you know, when we saw the good stuff, we saw a lot of it, and we know, you know, that, you know, 5 years ago this thing was really, really hot, and in our culture it's not that hot. Over there, they just see it as hot because all they do is see the television, and they don't know any better, and yet they're seeing something real special. And I mean, you know, again, this European tour just went over like gangbusters, you know. So again, it's just it saves the company.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
International,
who knows where they'd be without the International and the Hispanic audience.
You take the Hispanic audience out of SmackDown, and you're going to have a, you know, I mean, there's some weeks where that rating would be as low as a 2.1.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really propped them up as well.
Then for TNA, you know, it just seems like now I just think they're going to be stuck at .9s forever. I really do. Dave, is it too much to ask, or Brian? Maybe there just isn't an audience for a strong number 2 brand. Maybe people saw how good WCW was, and then they were off. Or maybe they just moved on. Maybe there just isn't. Maybe there will never be another strong number 2.
I don't say never, because things always change. But TNA does, you know, TNA. I'll tell you what, that rating on Thursday, this past Thursday, really, I mean, that was a big one, and it was, you know, they had a very good first show. The rating, they were very acceptable. I wouldn't say thrilled, but acceptable with the first week's rating. But to go down, you know, again, 1 week rating could be an aberration, but I don't know. You know, I think maybe it wasn't. Low-key just pinned Christopher Daniels, by the way, with his feet on the ropes doing a bridge. So he's saying,
it's like you hear people say, oh, they need the star power, and then they bring in some of the star power, and then they still don't draw a rating.
You know, it's funny you mentioned they were doing like a 0809 on Saturday at 11, and they brought in more star power, and they're drawing the same 0809. Then they moved to Thursday, you know, following UFC,
right,
and this big block, and they're still drawing the 09. So it's,
I just don't think,
I think that may be where they're at right now.
And plus you get the TV audience from the UFC, but who says they're going to even pay for the pay-per-views, the main revenue stream?
Yeah. But, you know, here's the other thing, too, is the, you know, when ECW was on that same network doing their 09, I mean, they would, you know, they did all kinds of stuff, too, and they couldn't get that thing to budge either. You know, I mean, they got it up to a 1-1 on their good weeks, but, I mean, they couldn't, which TNA has done, too. They weren't, you know, ECW wasn't able to budge that thing either. TNA pay-per-view going on right now. We've had Team Japan, Hiroki Goto, Minoru, and Black Tiger over Sanjay Dutt, Alex Shelley, and Jay Lethal, and then Low-Key returning and pinning Christopher Daniels' feet on the ropes. And we've got the arm wrestling in a cage, Conan being flanked by Homicide, and I believe Hot Stuff Hernandez. And
did Low-Key get a new name?
He may have. I don't know.
I believe he did.
Okay, because they never showed the name Low-Key on the screen, and I'm not seeing the commentary, so it's very possible. Do you know what the name is?
Sensei or Sinshi or something.
Oh, okay.
God knows why. It's funny,
I can tell you why.
Before the show started today, I was watching some Ring of Honor, and I just happened to see a Low-Key Chris Daniels match. Very good. So I was very excited when I heard they were going to wrestle on this show, and pretty much the same finish, except he used the ropes on this particular match. So
I think the deal was that he wouldn't sign the contract for the rights to the name.
That would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what that's. Yeah, I had heard that going in today that the name might be an issue. Kip James, more ridiculous than ever. He's got like on the right side of his head, he's got this side pigtail curly Q deal, and that's it. Not on both sides.
Just one side.
Just one side, yes. So anyway, that's...
Conan is limping around. It's like he's trying to add a swagger so you don't notice he's limping.
Right, yeah. Boy, he's in bad shape.
Yeah.
Let's go to Ed in San Antonio. Ed, what's going on?
You answered my original questions about the ECW. I was going to ask whether it was going to be an internet show or on the network, because I thought USA wasn't interested in showing anything.
It's still being hammered out. I mean, there's nothing's decided on that score right now. I mean, so.
Yeah, I'm kind of doubtful on the whole thing in itself, because I think, they're trying to put Paul Heyman in charge, and if they're going to film this at the TV tapings, Vince is going to be right there, and he's going to want to interject, and I think it's just going to lead to a lot of conflict, and I just don't have high hopes for it lasting very long.
Well, one of the big problems that I see is that if they're going to do it at the TV tapings, which from what I understand is the plan, they're going to do it before either Raw or SmackDown. They're not going to let those people, set people on fire and put them through 18 tables and all that, and then come out and do, have Kurt Angle and those guys go out there and do a wrestling match afterwards. So the dynamic is all messed up right just from that aspect.
You think that they might try and ask Danny Davis if they could turn OVW into like ECW and kind of just just change the operation to where it's
as far as developmental goes? First of all, they can't in Kentucky just because of the laws of Kentucky. You're not allowed to bleed in a wrestling match in Kentucky, or it's stopped right away. And there's all kinds of things because Ian Rotten got out of control, and they changed a bunch of. The commission got involved, and so it's actually quite strict. So I mean, and the other thing is that as far as OVW goes, there really wasn't any aspect of that because it's a developmental territory. So Heyman's job is to get these guys ready for WWE. So, in WWE, if they're not going to do this stuff, then, you got to teach them to wrestle and teach them wrestle WWE style, not teach them to, go through tables and bleed and run through the audience and things like that, which they're not going to be doing if they get to the main show. Except on rare occasions if they're in the main event against Hunter or somebody, or Vince.
And if they don't do stuff like that in their matches, it's just gonna make it. It's not ECW, and it's just gonna in the long run. I think it'll just get crapped on if it's WWE light, and you want to see ECW, but it's just a minor version of WWE, which they're not liking in the first place.
It's a way to make. It's a way to make people think that they're magnanimous. It's a way to sell merchandise. It's a way to get the old DVDs over by kind of having current product. It's
a way to burn it out.
It's something that's gone back and forth on for a long, long time, and I guess, they're going to try. That's all you can say, and, there's a lot of reasons why it may not work, but, it still may work. I mean, I've seen, a lot of stuff in wrestling where you go, this can't possibly work, and it does, and then a lot of times you say this can't possibly work, and it ends up flopping even worse than you thought.
Okay, and another question is, you guys were talking about, your Palmer Cannon, and you were joking how he survived Deep South and making it sound like it's a really bad place. Could you just elaborate on what these guys have to go through down there? The living conditions?
It's Bill DeMott and a lot of calisthenics, and it's not really, I thought, there's no glory in training down there in Georgia with, you know what I mean? It's hard. Those, Jody Hamilton comes from the old school, and, it's no picnic being there. And that's basically, Bob Armstrong, by the way, just won
the most dramatic match of all time right there.
What?
The most dramatic arm wrestling match of all time.
Really?
Well, but it was very good.
Yeah.
For a wacky arm wrestling match in a cage.
Conan looks like he hurt his arm, and now, are they gonna what's gonna happen? There's all these guys in the ring, something has got to break down. Okay, they've got the, did you see Kip James's hair?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a gang fight with the 66-year-old man getting involved.
Yeah, but the 66-year-old man side has the whips.
That's right. Oh, that's the stipulation. The loser has to get strapped.
Yeah, I think that maybe they get to strap everyone because there's three guys. Does Road Dogg have a strap?
Yep, they've all got straps.
Okay, so now let's see what happens. Oh, anyway, go ahead, Ed. Well, because this may take a while.
Another question that I have is regarding Ted DiBiase. You know, he came out on the pay-per-view, had the little cameo, and then he did a little thing on Unlimited. And I was just wondering, are they kind of like planning on bringing them back, or are they playing on the DVD and they're just kind of throwing them out there to get some face time, or do you know if they have any plans for Ted DiBiase in any kind of way?
The deal is they really don't know, but the character is such a famous character, and he's there, so sometimes they'll get an idea of something to do with $1 Million Man, so they'll throw him out there. But it's not. I mean,
there's no DVD in the works or anything like that?
There's nothing in the works. It's been discussed, you know, try and do something to get interview time because DiBiase's a good interview. Try to get Dusty on the air because Dusty's a good interview. You know, there were Michael Hayes even. You know, I mean, those guys are great promo guys. The only thing is, I mean, what, you know, anybody out there once is cool, but I just don't know where it goes because it's not like you can, you know, do a match with any of them. And, I mean, I guess it's cool watching, you know, I mean, those guys out interview the current guys, but you don't want to do that too often.
The bad guys are getting strapped, and Conan just took a bump for his strapping.
Yeah.
Some good stuff.
Yeah.
Thing with Deep South Wrestling, also getting back to that very quickly, was every time I ever heard anything about Deep South Wrestling from anybody involved with the company, it was always talking about what a disaster it was, whether it was putting the TV together, the training, people quitting that were supposed to be in charge of certain things, just one horrible thing after another, and it was often the comment made that this is like a developmental territory for a multi-million-dollar company. You would never know it.
It's amazing. I mean, because you know, you talk about OVW, but OVW is you know, I mean, that was a company that existed, and those guys were all around, and they had the school and everything long before WWE, and WWE was just put together with OVW through Jim Cornette.
Sure.
This, you know, since developmental is so important, it's amazing to me how bad a job WWE has done with that territory, not having more territories, not having a territory in Southern California or you know, New York, you know, not necessarily New York, but Southern California, because that's where, you know, the kind of people who look like the kind of people they want go to get work. You know, they should, you know, that's what the big bodybuilders go down there, and the people who want to be actresses go down there, and they're looking for beautiful people to train to be wrestlers. So it's amazing that they don't have something down there.
Well, they actually did, didn't they? Didn't they have a thing with?
They had a deal with UPW, and I guess it fell apart. And I don't know. You know, I mean, I'm sure that they had their reasons as to why, but you know, an awful lot of guys have come through UPW. I'm not saying great wrestlers, but as far as
John Cena,
John Cena, Chris Masters, there's a bunch of Victoria. There's a bunch of them really that came through there. Just because, you know, that's kind of the haven for people who look like, you know, when you want people to look a certain way. Speaking of which, did you just see Scott Steiner's arm?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wait, he's there in the background right now. It's looking bad.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else, Ed?
No, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, we're going to go to James in Tallahassee. James, what's going on?
James?
James is not there. Craig in New Orleans?
Here.
Craig.
Yes, I'm here.
Is this James? Oh, sorry, James. Okay, go ahead.
It's Craig.
Oh, it's Craig?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, Craig, what's going on?
All right, first of all, Dave Metzler, I just want to say you're a great guy, and I've been checking out some of your stuff over at ImpactWrestling.com. It's great. And it's actually Shinshai. It's a new name for Loki. Now, my whole thing with ECW coming back is if they don't do it right, they're just totally going to kill it from get-go. And they don't need to replace it with OVW. My whole little dream and my whole, he's just going to kill Raw off with that. I mean, it's bad. What he's doing is bad. Now, as far as TNA goes, I think TNA, they just need a little bit more money and maybe some bigger names. Maybe like Chris Jericho and Goldberg. They already have the names.
Money's not the issue with TNA. I mean,
say it again?
They need. I mean, yeah, I could say they need more stars, but
hell yeah,
you know, but that's not a money issue. I mean, as far as
no, I mean, but the promoting and the revenue and the stuff like that,
Yeah, I mean, they could be doing much bigger and better things with them. I think the 1.1 came from them having all the big hype, going on. They went on some guy show, talked about it. They were on Spike TV on the Cinema Tuesday. So, they got some hype then.
You got to be able to keep that for week 2.
They do. And I think if they went out more, have more David Letterman, more stuff like that.
It may come out next week. It may come back up next week.
They might. I just think they need more, definitely more promoting, more David Letterman, more Jay Leno, more stuff like that. Definitely.
They know that. It's the question of getting, getting people on. That's where, if nothing else, perhaps a Bill Goldberg can help you because Bill Goldberg can get on those shows, whereas Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner can't.
Well, exactly. And, but, the talent is great. They have the best talent in the world, the best guys. And then, another thing I think they could do is maybe establish a women's division.
Not with a 1-hour show.
Well, no. And that's another thing, more airtime. And they need a much better timing.
Yeah, we all know that. I'm not averse to a women's division, but not with a 1-hour show. They just don't.
The women, they do suck. It's boring, but,
No, but you want divergency and you want different things, but
exactly.
Again, with a 1-hour show, they don't have time.
Exactly. And one last problem I have with WWE compared to TNA is that if you're not of, I guess, Caucasian white descent, then you're really not going to, get anywhere. And,
What, in WWE?
Oh, exactly. If you're of another descent, then they're just going to kill you.
That's really not true because look at Rey Mysterio.
Well, Rey Mysterio is one of a kind. They don't really hype them, I really don't think that your ethnicity, as long as you can speak the language, okay, if you can't speak the language, then you're in trouble, but as long as you can speak the language, I don't think your ethnicity has much to do with it. That's true.
They'll stereotype you, but it's not like...
I just guess that they're not going to do what TNA does. TNA, they really do a lot of great things, with the whole, with the international and with the X Division, period.
Yeah. Well, they're not. Yeah, they're going to do that because they're trying to do something different and everything. So.
That's true. And,
but WWE wants their own guys. They're not going to bring somebody.
Well, definitely, that's true.
Okay. Anyway, we got to get running. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Brian, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I believe we're back.
Okay. Hey, did you see that Shooting Star press?
I actually missed it. But apparently, what happened? Is everybody alive in this match?
Chase Stevens went to the top of the cage and did a shooting star press, and there were 4 guys, I believe, sitting there waiting to catch him, and somehow, with 4 guys right there, he went right through the middle of them, and they were all out of position at the same time.
I saw the aftermath of it, and I thought, is he really hurt? And they opened up the cage, and then it seemed like that opening up of the cage played into the match, so I was not sure, but
no, I don't think he was hurt because he came out and did some stuff afterwards, but it was just like
insane.
Oh, he landed right in his face. It wasn't too good.
I get very worried on these cage shows because somebody always does something crazy. It's just one of those things where the odds are likely that someone's going to get hurt. I don't want to watch it, but
yeah. He was shaky. We're down to Chris Sabin and Petey Williams are the last 2. Everyone else has been eliminated. So anyway, that's what's going on there. We're going to go to Robert in Delaware. Robert, are you there?
Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Doing good.
I have a question about DX.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to reform?
I think there's a pretty good shot at it. They're certainly teasing it, and they don't tease things for no reason. So, I expect it. Yeah. It's not like, I don't know that it's 100%, but they keep doing it. It's got to be pretty close to 100%.
Right, and if they do, is it going to be like Cena and Edge and Triple H and Shawn Michaels?
It'd be Shawn Michaels and Triple H. I'm not sure who else would be in it.
Because they keep pushing like Edge and.
Look, I think they're going to be a babyface group, so I don't see Edge being a part of it at all, and I wouldn't put Edge as a part of it. And as far as who else, I don't know. Good question.
I would almost design it like they did with Evolution, where you take 2 guys you have plans for down the road and build them.
But if it's a babyface group, so isn't he Carlito?
Well, you've got the problem here with the babyface group. I don't know. I don't really see Carlito as a fit for that group, but
I think Carlito's good enough to be on his own Well,
the original DX was 2 guys and a girl.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a large group.
But if you're going to, if the idea is just to elevate people, you want at least a couple people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you want to look at the horseman war, you know what I'm saying, too?
What?
And I have a question about Bruno Sammartino.
Yes.
He's doing a legend match over here on the East Coast, or at least on that's being shown on the East Coast. Do you know what his role's going to be?
Are you talking about on the pay-per-view next week?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been taped. I think that Bruno's just doing maybe an interview or something. He's not doing a match. I know that.
Yeah,
Bruno's 70 years old.
He's just going to interview?
What?
He's just going to interview?
I think he's just doing an interview or something. I know, that show was taped several weeks ago, and Bruno was there, but he didn't wrestle.
Hey, thanks, gentlemen.
Okay, very welcome. On the TNA pay-per-view, Samoa Joe and Sabu are about to go in the ring, and we are going to the pay-per-view. We're going to Orlando, Florida. We got Christopher Daniels up. Christopher, how you?
Good, man. How's everything going?
It's going real good. I wanted to ask you about, of course, you wrestled Loki. What name did he go by today?
Tonight he was Santee.
Okay, do you know any reason for that?
I don't know exactly the reason. I think there was something to do with the ownership of the name, and so I think the TNA just wanted to be safe and have something that they could use on their own rather than get into a discussion about who owned what.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just speculation. I don't know the exact. I think that was between Loki and them, and no one really gave me the entire information on it. So
how long did you know that you were going to be wrestling him?
I had an idea. They had kicked around a couple different names, but I had an idea for about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So it's not ever since the Liger thing fell through, basically, then.
Pretty much. I found out that at the last TV taping where I wrestled Joe, they kind of let me know what their speculative plans were, and they gave me like a couple backups, but this was their first choice, and here it went.
Who were some of the backups?
I think they had discussed Lance Storm just briefly.
Okay.
But I think that was like a distant backup. I'm not sure how close they were to even trying that, or if they were so confident that it was just like something that they had thought of, or I don't even know if they'd ever even approached Lance to do it or not. But that was something that was discussed too, I think.
A couple of weeks ago, you had the match a week ago Thursday on TV and taped a few days before that with Joe on the very first match on Thursday night for TNA, and they joined the match in progress. I mean, what did you think when they first told you, what the battle plan was for that match?
I was a little taken aback. I mean, especially because the way it was put to me was that they were going to the bumper right before we went live was going to be Joe's entrance, and so I was a little disappointed because I felt like it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of looked like the champion was going to be the underdog in a match where he's defending the title. But then watching the finished product and knowing what they were going for, I was real happy with the way it turned out. And I think like the way they planned it as far as like coming in at the certain spot and getting the action going right away, I think it went just about as well as they had planned. So I was real happy with the outcome.
Yeah. Now, as far as do you know as far as like what direction you're going to be going as far as TV tomorrow?
Not specifically. I know some stuff, but I think it's still kind of in the planning stages, so I don't want to go on record as saying this is what's going to happen and then it falls through. So there's been one or two things that's been discussed. But I think whatever's going to happen, I think it's going to be, I think it's just definitely a break away from Joe now that, like, the issue between Joe and I and AJ are done. So.
Now, what's the morale like as far as, getting on the Thursday, and what were your thoughts as far as, first you had it at 9, then it was moved to 11. Of course, you've got the Ultimate Fighter lead-in at 10 now, which is theoretically, a big advantageous thing. I mean, how are your, ups and downs going with all the different, changes in what was going to happen?
Well, of course, like the first time that we heard that we were going to 9, and then they had the big discussion with us in the locker room that it was going to change back to 11, at first glance it seemed like a step back or a step to the side at least. But then, the way they explained it about having Ultimate Fighter as the lead-in rather than having CSI as the lead-in, I mean, it definitely showed us that Spike TV really has plans for us and doesn't want to just throw us out there and kind of feed us to the wolves. They want to build us up and give us the most advantageous spot possible. So, I mean, I think that the morale, even though at first we thought it was a negative, I think afterwards when it was explained to us, we all thought it was very positive. So right now the morale is really, really good, I think, back here.
As far as working the Ring of Honor and everything like that, I mean, now how many dates right now are you doing a month?
I'm usually averaging like 2 or 3 shows a week. I mean, some more than others. Sometimes I'm only doing 1 shot on the weekend, and sometimes I'm doing, 3. And if we're doing TV, sometimes it's 4. Like this last week, I did 3 shows on the weekend. So, it averages out to about 2 or 3 a week. So, I'm staying busy.
Is that like your optimum? I mean, is there like a number that you want to hit, or or you think maybe it's too much?
No. I mean, sometimes I sometimes wish that I had more of a break in between just to be at home. But at the same time, you got to work when the work's there. And I'm happy to take advantage of the exposure that TNA's given me and out there and be at a bunch of different promotions that I've never been. Like, I mean, I'd already been with Ring of Honor and doing, like, the higher profile indies, but now a lot of stuff, especially in the South, because of TNA, has opened up for me. So, I'm really kind of expanding where I'm going. And, and I'm taking advantage of the work that I've done here at TNA. I'm starting to branch out and do a wider variety of independents. So,
what do you think of the ROH CZW feud? You were there for, I guess, the big angle this weekend.
Man, I think that 6-man last night with their guys against Ring of Honor was one of the most heated things that I've been in an arena for, and I think it's going great. And everybody's real happy about it. I think everybody's really surprised. I don't think that they had thought that this thing was going to have the legs that it has. And so I think everybody's real happy with it.
When you've been going overseas, I mean, is there what's the difference for you as far as or is there a difference now? Because everyone sees basically the same tapes and the same TV with wrestling in different parts of the world. As far as at least as far as did you go to Korea?
Yeah, we did Korea in February, actually.
Yeah. So as far as like Korea and England and all that, what's kind of like your mentality, or how's every audience kind of different?
Well, my feeling, like, as far as Japan went, I always felt like they were more interested in the athleticism of it. So that was something where I would go over there and do tours and try to work on picking up my physical game, like trying to get faster or do different moves and stuff like that. But now when we're doing things like England and Korea, a lot of that is based on the fact that there's exposure, whether it's from the DVDs or from TNA. And so it's not so much, I think Japan's more difficult. England's more of a smart crowd. Like, they watch a lot of the Ring of Honor DVDs and a lot of the television. So they're a lot smarter. It's almost like wrestling in front of a Ring of Honor crowd going to England. Korea, at the point we did, our TV was just starting to get big, so it was more of like an introduction. There was more of like almost like a house show mentality. Like, they were just kind of getting introduced to our stuff, so it was almost like Chris Daniels and AJ Styles 101 when we went there in February.
What's your thoughts as far as branching out? I mean, you've been doing the matches with Joe and with AJ. It seems like for a really long time, and with the 3-ways and everything like that. And
yeah,
it has its ups and its downs. I mean, the ups is that you work great with those guys. You've had phenomenal matches, and but at the same time, what guys are you looking forward to now getting the chance to work with?
Well, hopefully, I hope something comes with an opportunity to work with AleX Shelley. I think Jay Lethal is starting to get the chance to like move up in the card and do some more stuff. I'm a little more focused on him. And now that the World X Cup is going on, especially with the match that the New Japan guys had, I hope to see Tanaka and Goto over here more often. And and then the Mexico guys like Shaka's returning soon. So I just all those guys that have been in the X Division in the past that have come back, Shaka, guys like Low Key, just a chance to work with all those guys and kind of broaden the horizons of the X Division. Like you said, the fact that it was me and Joe and AJ for such a long time, it does have its pluses and its minuses, but I think now that issue's over, we're all going to branch out into different stuff and hopefully, spread the wealth a little bit.
What's the chance of Curryman coming in for Team Japan?
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to translate the same way over here as it would over there.
Well, you did it in Ring of Honor.
Yes, they did, and they, at least they know who Quartermain is. I'm not sure, I think the deafening sound of silence when Quartermain walked down the ramp at TNA, I'm not sure if that's something I want to handle with, you know what I mean?
Team 3D and Team Canada are about to step into the cage. Now, when you went in there, I mean, your match, you didn't, I mean, you were in a cage, but you didn't wrestle it like a cage match, or did you? Or what was your mentality going in tonight?
Well, it's hard to go into a match where there's not an issue behind who you're wrestling and work with the cage. I try to do a little bit that incorporated the cage, but definitely not make it the focus. I mean, it would have been different if it was Joe and I, we definitely could have done stuff with the cage and, you know, kind of made it the blow-off to the feud. But, you know, you get a match where you come in cold with somebody, it's kind of hard to get the mentality of, like, fighting like it's a grudge match. So we just tried to incorporate it, and, you know, there wasn't any blood spilled in this match. It was just, you know, a match that took place in a cage rather than an actual cage match.
Are you happy with how the match went down?
Yeah, I was really happy with it. I was really happy with the crowd response, especially coming after the opening match with the Japan guys and Team USA. You know, they started out really hot, and they gave us something really hard to follow, and I thought we did a good job of doing different, but still entertaining and something still that they wanted to see. So,
you still talk to Mike Modest very often?
Not very frequently. He was out here not too long ago doing. He did a TV taping. He did like an exposure match with Donovan Morgan. But he had his family, and he lives up near. God, I want to say San Francisco. But, yeah, we don't get a chance to talk as often as we used to.
Yeah, I think, does he live in Clear Lake, maybe?
Say it again?
Does he maybe live in Clear Lake?
Maybe.
I know that he lives like 3 hours north of me. I know that because the last time I saw him in San Jose, he told me it was a 3-hour drive.
Right.
But I'm not sure exactly, I'm not exactly sure where it is other than it's way north.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, is there, as far as, people that we haven't seen, that you may have seen on Independence, wherever you've been, because you've been everywhere lately, is there any people who you would like to, you know, recommend to TNA, or guys who maybe not even recommend right now, but like, let's say 6 months down the road, we should all be looking out for?
Well, I don't know. I know this doesn't exactly answer the question the way you asked it, but I certainly want to see Frankie Kazarian come back to TNA. Mm-hmm. I think that's been long overdue. But as far as someone who hasn't been here yet, especially based on the stuff he did at the Super 8, I would definitely say Milano Collection BT. Mm-hmm. I was so impressed with the stuff he did at the Super 8, and just his entire package I think is tremendous, and I think he'd be a great fit for the X Division here.
How is Davey? What's your thoughts on Davey Richards?
I think he's really good for a guy that's only been in, like 2 years, maybe less than that.
I think it's about 3
But I
years.
think the positive for him is that he's got a really good attitude, and he learns quickly, and I think a lot of breaks are coming his way in the sense that he's getting a chance to work with a lot of different people, a lot of different styles, and the quicker he picks up, the better he's going to get, the faster he's going to get better. So I think that there's a bright future for him, and definitely good things are coming his way quickly.
Did you ever get a chance to work some matches with Harry Smith?
No, I never have. I've only actually been on a couple of shows with him, to be honest with you.
Yeah. As far as so, have you worked at all in UPW of late?
No, I haven't done anything for them since I think it was 2 years ago. I did one of their anniversary shows where Tom Howard and I wrestled Nash and Hall.
Oh, I remember that. That was interesting.
Well, what are your thoughts of that night?
You know what? I just thought that was a bad decision on Rick Baslin's part to play it the way he did. I thought that, you know, the first match back for Hall and Nash in so long, and then to ask them to put us over, I just thought that was not a good plan, and I felt bad even having them go up to Hall and Nash and ask them to do that. I thought it was just smart business to, you know, put them over and feature them, and you know, and I think the reaction of the crowd when the match was finished said it all. You know what I mean? I just felt like they knew that it was ridiculous, and yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a bad decision.
Did you try and argue the finish?
Yes, I did. I asked many times. I was like, please, let them go over, let them pin me. You know, I mean, it wasn't like I was a integral part of UPW the way Tom Howard is, so I didn't think beating me hurt UPW at all. I just thought it was going to be what the people wanted to see, and everybody went home happy, and instead everybody felt, I don't know if gypped is the word, but they certainly weren't pleased with the result.
Have you been in a lot of situations where you've tried to fight winning a match, or is that kind of a rarity?
Sometimes, I mean, I think sometimes people, bookers will come to me and give me a situation where they feel like if they ask me to put someone over, they might think I'm insulted or that I can't do it for TNA reasons or whatever. And usually go to them if I think that it's the right thing for the show and say, why don't I just put this guy over? And, you know, and usually if you go to them and say that, they're like, oh, well, okay, we just didn't know if you could or if you wanted to or how you feel about that. It happens really rarely, but I mean, you know, I'm always trying to think of what's best for the show. I mean, I'd love to win every match I was ever in, but, you know, it's not always the right thing, and so, you know, I try to do what's best for everybody involved.
You mentioned earlier, you know, going in there tonight and that the Team Japan, Team USA match was pretty hot. I mean, we were kind of, we're here watching it, but we don't have the sound on, and we're not, you know, we're actually doing a show at the same time. So It's kind of hard to tell, like, what's a good match and what's a bad match. So you thought you thought those guys really turned it on then?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think when you get in a situation where you're working with guys that speak a different language, and it's their first time here, and, you know, they're kind of in a strange situation as far as the six-sided ring and working in front of television cameras. I mean, they've done TV, but not necessarily like live pay-per-view as much as we have so far. So, you know, there's a lot of obstacles in their way for them to still go out there and put them together a match like they did. You know, it just shows how good all six of those guys are.
Was Hiroki Goto, did you wrestle him when you were going to Japan, or did he come after you left?
No, actually, Bryan Danielson and I, the only defense we had when we had the junior straps was against Taguchi and Goto. So we had a chance to wrestle those guys a couple times.
Yeah, right. That was when both those guys were pretty much just starting then.
Yeah. He was still kind of coming in. He was still in the young boy position, but I think he's just now starting to drive that, especially with him and Tanaka had the tag straps.
Right.
I think they kind of were looking at him as someone coming out of that role.
Do you miss New Japan, or is it something where it's like, okay, that was your time there, and you're happy with what you're doing now?
A little bit of both. I miss going over there. I certainly miss doing the Quartermain thing. I always enjoyed the break of doing Quartermain. That particular gimmick is a little bit more entertainment than the actual athleticism of it. And I always enjoyed doing that. It was a break. You know, I didn't take that as seriously as I take doing the Fallen Angel character. But at the same time, I'm happy to be home every week, and especially now that I've got children. I don't know if I'm up for going and doing 3-week tours again. But, you know, I've always tried to keep myself open and try to be available for them if the time was right to go back and do the Quartermain character.
I mean, do you think, like, because I guess AJ Styles is probably going back there for one show. I mean, would you be up for something where, you know, if there's like a show just to go over there, you know, if they wanted you?
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. I've always tried to keep a good relationship with New Japan, and that's one of the reasons why I'm happy to see these guys here at TNA, just because I've always enjoyed working with the guys. I think the junior heavyweights over there are still some of the best in the world, and you know, just the idea of having those guys here and having TNA guys go over there, I think that's a positive for both companies.
What's your thoughts as far as the Dragon Gate guys?
Dude, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that they're coming over to Ring of Honor as often as they are, and I know that Gabe Sapolsky is trying to get our guys over there to do stuff with them. Yeah, I've been like when I was doing Michinoku Pro, I did a lot of stuff with Shima and the Crazy Max guys, and now that they're doing the Dragon Gate stuff, I'm just happy that they're doing well, and I hope that they get a chance to come to the States more often.
What's your thoughts as far as that style goes? You know, because they have you know, it's kind of a different style than we've really ever seen in the United States.
I'm not as familiar with it. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of the tapes. I just watched their stuff when they were in Chicago and enjoyed it. You know, and like you said, it's a different style, and I think I'd have to watch a little bit more of it to kind of grasp the concepts. As you know, the tendency is to look at it as like just a bunch of spots, but at the same time, you know that they've got a different storyline going on. They've got their ideas, and I think I'd definitely I would have to watch a little bit more of it to kind of get their concepts and see the differences between what we're doing here and what they're doing.
Have you talked at all as far as I know at one point, they showed your match with Shocker on TV on AAA TV. In fact, I actually saw it on AAA TV. Right. And I know that there had been talk of you going there. I mean, is that you just haven't really heard anything on that, or?
It's been discussed. I mean, they've mentioned it a couple times, especially Conan. He's talked about bringing us down there. But I just think they're waiting for the right time to do it, and I don't know what the right time is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be better for them, especially now that Shocker's back and they're doing the World Cup, if they're going to wait for us to get back on our television, or wait for them to get on our television to do it back there for them, or what the deal is. But I've always been open to it, and as much as I liked working with Shocker the first time when he was here, I'd love to get a chance to go and do another match with him down there.
What's the biggest difficulty as far as working with someone from Mexico? I mean, or do you even have any difficulty with that? Or are you just adaptable to that?
I think the difficulty is just the language barrier sometimes, and especially, like I had more problems when we did the first World Cup with guys like Abismo Negro, just the feeling in the ring, like the idea of like Cell and they have a different idea of what like their version of chain wrestling is and their version of Heat, and it's just difficult to kind of be on the same page. I didn't have that much problem with Shocker just because his English is so good that we kind of got on the same page right away, and I try to. I think that one of the strengths that I have is trying to adapt to the style of the guy that I'm working with. So I tried to do a little bit of what he was used to, and then he did the same for me. He tried to do a little bit of what I was used to, and I thought that was why our first match went as well as it did.
Did you have any problems with working on the other side, or did they just work on the left?
No, like sometimes, like they would let us know that they were going to do that, and I've done enough lucha where I'm not like entirely comfortable doing it, but if I have to do it, I'm good with it. So, I mean, I've done it where, you just have to put in your mind, okay, other side. So.
Especially the mentality of doing the different styles. Are you, your career has been kind of interesting in the sense of you've been able to go so many places and wrestle so many different type of guys. And a lot of the younger guys, if they come through, like, to the WWE developmental system, they don't actually get that opportunity. If they start out, like Chris Masters, I'm just going to throw a name out from Southern California.
Right.
Came in at 20 years old and went through the one way, and now he's on the TV. But it's he didn't have the opportunity to wrestle a wide variety of people.
Yeah, I guess there's positives and negatives to that. I mean, I felt like my career coming up was certainly more well-rounded. But in the case of Chris Masters, they were grooming him for a certain style and a certain method, and by not exposing him to all these different methods and different styles, maybe it was easier for him to learn the style that he's at now, and, because their mindset is he's not going to wrestle anywhere else for the rest of his career. He would like to, I'm sure, wrestle the rest of his life in WWE. So, like to me, I felt like being well-rounded was going to be a positive for me, and for them, they probably think that having that tunnel vision of working one style and only knowing that one style was a positive for them, so.
Well, for you, as far as with TNA, because they bring in so many guys from different places, the fact that, you pretty much can be counted on, they can put you in the ring with just about anyone and you're gonna have a good match with them. I think that background's really served you well now.
Well, yeah, I've always felt like, and this is something that I tell younger wrestlers when they ask me for advice, is the way you become a commodity to a promoter is be comfortable enough with yourself as a wrestler that you can always have a great first match with anybody, whoever you get in the ring with. And once you get that confidence in yourself, you certainly become valuable to a promoter because he knows that whoever he puts you in the ring with, you're going to go out there and perform and do well.
Chris, I want to thank you very much. We got to hit a break, and congratulations on your match tonight, and we'll good luck on your match tomorrow and the rest of the TNA run. And
all right, man, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Okay, that was Christopher Daniels, who just had a match with Senshi, formerly Loki, earlier in the day, just a couple hours ago, and we're in the middle of the TNA pay-per-view. And Team 3D has just beaten Team Canada, and looks like I'm not even sure what match we've got next. It might be the War Games match before the Christian Cage match, because they're promoing. They're promoting everyone, actually. So it's actually a promo for next for the next Stock Price Pay-Per-View. Anyway, we'll be back right after this. You're listening to Comes Over Live on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
Number.
What?
It's her phone number.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I was shocked to see her, though.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that she was, I mean, I knew they had called her, but this was, months ago. And I really hadn't heard her name mentioned other than, she's been at some World of Wheel shows and, doing some movie. But, whatever it is, Don West is making a face, so it must be.
He is. He's trying to get the number.
Anyway, we're going to go to Emmett in California. Emmett, what's going on?
Hey, I had a question about Carlito, or I was just going to ask you about him. Over the past year or so, I've been, watching him. He's pretty charismatic and he carries himself well, and people get really behind him, or at least I'm noticing that, even though, he's not much of a face or anything like that. I was wondering if you think that he has a future in, in the world title business or anything like that.
Who are you talking about?
Carlito, sorry.
Oh, Carlito, Carlito's a young guy, and he's a great talker, and, world title, I mean, it's possible.
That's a ways down the road.
Yeah, I don't see it happening right now. Whatever is going on, by the way, Larry Zabisco looks very unhappy about the letter, so I'm assuming that has to do with Raven, then.
That's right, because he kept talking about a girl.
Yeah. So is that Raven's girlfriend from all those months that they forgot about?
He was dating someone under a WWE contract.
Yeah. I mean, because that was a storyline that went nowhere.
Yeah?
Like
it was going to be
whole
Jackie
Raven
for a while, remember, supposedly?
What?
They were teasing it like it was going to be Jackie, and I don't know.
They teased something with Jackie on the last show.
Before he left, yeah.
And then, well, I guess that means he's coming back soon. Anyway, anything else, Emmett?
Yeah, hey, Brian, last week you were talking about Hogan Knows Best, and I just wanted to let you know that's one of the worst shows I've ever watched in my life.
How can you say that?
I'm serious, isn't it scripted?
It's I don't know if I'd call it a good show, but it's a show where for a half hour every week I watch it, and most times I'm entertained, except the show with all the pets. That one I could do without.
Raven is back.
Yes, he is.
There he goes. And he's not wearing a shirt, which I'm not sure is a smart idea.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy Hogan Knows Best. I apologize for telling you to watch it.
Yeah, you told me to watch it, too. You may have to apologize to me if I go and watch. I'm not going to watch it tonight, but I may watch it. When does it replay during the week? Do you even know?
I don't know. I think if you leave VH1 on, it'll probably play about 16 times.
Yeah, I know. The ratings of the show aren't bad, though.
No, not at all.
In fact, they're actually really good.
Yeah.
Raven is stalking Larry Zabisco.
It seriously is. It's so much better than last season.
Well, then maybe I should watch.
I think part of the deal is I think it's so obvious now what it is that they just go with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you don't. Your intelligence isn't insulted because you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Whereas last season they tried to put it off like, I don't know. I enjoy it a lot better this season.
They tried to put it off like it wasn't scripted.
Sure.
When they're obviously doing like this really bad version of Father Knows Best.
Yep.
Yeah. With all of the same.
Raven looks very old.
The thing is, okay, now this is from not watching the show, okay? Looks like Christian's up next, by the way. From not watching the show, but when we're reading the summaries, I feel like every single episode is the same. It's always, Hogan getting down on Brooke, Brooke trying to meet guys, and, Hulk not approving.
There certainly is a theme of the show, yes.
And, every now and then Hulk will be working out with Brian Knobbs, and then there's, and then Hulk is out there trying to figure out something to do with his life with his wife, and he never seems to like it. And,
sure.
And he's always talking about going back to wrestling, but he almost never does.
Yep.
So that's what it was like last year. And then I'm reading I feel like they have the same episodes this year.
I think part of it also is it's a show where when you watch it, you understand all the characters, and they're all fully developed characters. And I don't get that a lot with some pro wrestling shows, so that might also be part of it.
Yeah. Well, Hogan is definitely a character.
And Nick and Brooke, even Linda is a sort of strange character. I can see why this show is doing good numbers.
Yeah. Well, Brooke's got a look, and Nick's got a personality.
Yeah.
So now, how big is Nick right now?
See, it's hard to tell because he's in this family with all these giants, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looks like this little puny guy, but then you realize that Brooke's like 5'10" or 5'11", and Hogan's huge, and, he's there's potential for him down the road. Physically, he doesn't look like much now, but, I
hope there's not potential to be another Miz.
I don't... See, Nick comes off as sort of being a cool guy. He's annoying and such, and he causes trouble, but nothing like Miz. Miz, you really want to beat up. Nick, you can be entertained by.
I mean, because I watched on SmackDown on Friday night when the Miz was trying to break into the Savas Center, and it was like, I was so happy that Palmer Cannon wasn't letting that guy in because I just wanted him gone.
Oh yeah. When I saw that, I was so sad that Palmer Cannon quit because he actually done something worthwhile for the first time in his whole SmackDown career. He kicked Miz out of the building.
That guy says hurrah one more time. He's going to get like some shooter after him. I mean, not shooter like some shooter with a gun like they used to shoot Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to Darren in Alabama. Darren, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not too much.
Listen, need to check Hogan Knows Best in about 10 years because the way he's raising Brooke, she'll probably go 21 and go berserk. And
I am waiting for her to go berserk at any time.
Yeah, she'll be the next Paris Hilton. There'll be a video on the net. And
what happens when she moves out? Because that's coming in a couple of years. She's going to move out of that house.
Well, Hogan will be there every day like he was during the skit where she went to the beach house.
Yeah, he'll be putting dust caps on the guys like he did last week.
Sooner or later, if she has a career, is he going to travel with her like when she's 25 years old to every stop?
If you watch this show, the answer you would come up with is yes.
Yeah, that's true because he's actually like living through her his career. So you're right. There's going to be an issue one day. She's going to go, "Daddy, go home."
Yep, and he'll flip out. I mean, even if the show is scripted, you can still tell that he's very attached to this girl and his children, and him and Linda are going to completely freak out someday.
Yeah, they're going to get real lonely when they're left together and they with nothing but like the 48 pets.
Yeah, there will be even more animals, or perhaps adoption.
They may want to adopt. Yeah, that may be what happens. Anything else?
Yeah, kind of talking about the ECW thing. If they really are planning to do this like before or after Raw and SmackDown, does this mean they're replacing Velocity and Heat?
I don't know about, it may be a replacement. It may be in addition to. It'll be before. They're not about to shoot, Monday Night Raw and then shoot ECW because then you're going to have, people leaving because it's already 11 at night.
They already do Heat and Velocity before those shows, right?
Yeah, they do Heat and Velocity. But you could do, another hour would be tough. You're making a 4-hour show. I mean, it can be done. It's tricky. It's a tricky one, no doubt.
Yeah. And it looks like they're getting ready to make Triple H kind of go face, just, I guess, in light of the Cena reaction, as horrible as that's been over the past few weeks. How long do you think that will last? Because it wasn't that long that people had kind of grown tired of Triple H, and even if you make him a face or reunite DX and give him the belt for a while, how long before that will just wear thin on people again?
No telling. I couldn't even begin to predict because you don't. I mean, I think it's going to be a big a DX at the beginning will be a big merchandising thing, but it is a redoing of something that was done before, and usually when that
guys
happens,
that are 10
like
years old are doing the same role.
Yeah, well, one's 40 and the other's 37.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll get two good young guys in there, but I don't think they can do that DX. But the idea of DX being back, I think people will, I know they're going to accept it at first because, they've been, a few times years back when they would tease it, the people would go crazy for it, and, now all they do is, the crotch chop's a guaranteed, pop. So, I think they're going to do it. I think it'll be okay for a while. And, the one thing with them is, especially since it's Triple H, is when he senses that thing burning out, he's going on to the next thing. He's not a dummy when it comes to his own career, and nor is Shawn Michaels. They're going to go as long as they'll know, and when the time's up, they'll do something else.
Okay. And last thing, just kind of going out these past 2 weeks, what do you think of sort of the new format of TNA with the Impact that kind of dumped the squash matches, cut it down to pretty much 2 solid matches, a few promos, and it seems like they're trying to get near as many people over as they were about a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 sides to it. Number one is those young guys, are not getting as much TV time. But you know what? Right now, TNA has got to do something, and moving that rating is really hard. And they also have to get stuff that has meaning, and just rushing through one thing after another, it just doesn't have meaning. So I mean, I recommended this probably before they even did it, and I was, recommending it hard to them. So, I mean, I'd be if I said I thought it was bad now, then I would be a real, idiot. So, I think it's a good move, and hopefully it works. I mean, time will only tell. I want to thank everyone for joining in. We will be back live in 2 weeks. Of course, next week is the Backlash pay-per-view, and amidst all of this, we haven't even talked about the fact that God will be debuting on Sunday. So
don't miss it.
What?
Don't you dare miss it.
Don't you dare miss it. This will be something. I don't know what, but something.